Welcome back to another luxury travel experience with me, Jesse, where today we travel in business class from Madrid in Spain to Istanbul in Turkey on board a Turkish Airlines Airbus A330-300. Stay with me to the end to experience this short 4-hour trip to see just how good this business class experience is. Or isn't. My journey starts in a taxi, leaving the central train station in Madrid, shortly named Atocha Station, as this video follows on from my first class train trip I took to get to Madrid. Have a look in the description for the link to that video. The taxi ride takes me past busy Madrid streets, the beautiful Retiro Park, garden gates, and the outskirts of the city, and eventually to Madrid Barajas Airport. I'm really impressed at how fast one can get to the airport from the station. But the driver assured me that it was due to having no traffic issues. Otherwise, it is better, he said, to take the subway or metro trains or the Cercanías trains. I've been very excited to try Turkish Airlines business class offering, as this airline has increasingly started offering routes to new destinations. Pretty soon, we're at Terminal 1 of the 5 airport terminals at Madrid Barajas Airport. And just like that, in a rapid transit in a taxi, I'm at Madrid Barajas Airport at T1, ready to check in for my flight. The airport is somewhat busy as I find my way to the check-in desk. While I don't have bags to check in, for some reason I haven't been able to properly check myself in to choose my seat online. I'm interested to see how long I'll have to wait in queues today at the airport to get to my lounge and the gate. But voila, the business class queue is empty. So I go straight to the check-in desk and handle the seat selection. With my aisle seat sorted and done, it's time to stroll casually the 20 meters to the security check-in. I've noted on the way to the counters that the queue is quite long and didn't see anything for business class travelers. But on my way back, I do see a separate section. And voila again, it's completely empty. Due to upgrades in the equipment, or a bit of ignorance, I guess, they don't require me to remove shoes, my belt, water bottles, laptops, or anything. And I'm done in less time than it takes to click like and subscribe, which by the way is super fast. So please do that, because all my trips are self-funded for your reviewing pleasure. Out of security, it's now time for passport control. Again, the speed of the queue impresses me. And so actually I've gone from arriving at the airport to gateside in under 10 minutes. This gives me precious extra time to spend in the business class lounge, one of the big perks for luxury travelers. The business class lounge is nearby and upstairs. I make my way over there. Obviously on the way I have to pass through numerous shops, but then it's just one more escalator and I'm entering the lounge doors. The lounge is swish, neat and clean, and spacious. I make my way past the flight monitor and meeting rooms to do a bit of plane spotting outside. The view is unobscured outside and allows one to see and hear the planes right in front of you, unlike most viewing points, which are behind glass. Back inside the business lounge, and it's super quiet, and I go again past the numerous meeting tables to find a seat with charging points. The lounge is medium busy, so that's easy, and after grabbing some reading matter, it's time for something important: food and drink. There's a vast selection of eats and a bar. They even have my favorite paella version, mixta. More meeting tables exist behind the bar, but I'm already stocked with things to munch. After eating and charging, I move to the window to view the planes and have a read. I can't hold back on a glass of bubbly and a glance at the news. It's funny how, when one has time and a good seat, a newspaper is so much more interesting. Time to head out to the gate. Boarding will start, and I always like to be one of the first on the plane. It's chats with the cabin staff and seeing the seats in their layout before they fill up that gets me going. Back down the escalator, past an array of shops and coffee shops or restaurants again, and past some really pretty airport wall designs, and we're at the gate, ready to fly. There are still queues, so I while away the last few minutes being impressed at how good Barajas Airport really is. Recently, over 2.4 billion has just been allocated to expanding the airport and its terminals. By the way, that's 2.4 billion euro to accommodate almost 100 million passengers annually. So Spain is really setting itself up to overtake France as the world's tourism leader. It's currently in spot number 2, but its trajectory looks pretty clear. Finally, it's time to board, and yet again I'm in front of the queue, eager to get into the plane. The cabin crew is kind and full of smiles. One can see right away the 222 layout of the 28 business class seats in the business cabin. My seat is 2K, the last seat on the right-hand side next to the window. The seats are well shaped, but a bit yellow from the edge of the plane, which I find out online to be 14 years old. Some stats provided by Turkish Airlines show that the seat is 22 inches or 56 centimeters wide. And that feels fine, but it also says there's legroom of 76 inches or 193 centimeters, which is almost 2 meters, and this is somewhat hard to believe, but I don't have my measuring tape with me, so we'll see how I fit into the seat later. The headrest is somewhat adjustable, but there's no privacy panel between the seats, so this does not give a sense of privacy at all, and would be ideal for couples. Well, on a short trip like today's, it matters less, but for a long trip, it wouldn't be worth it. With that said, I'm keen to see if the angled seat is worthy of a business class experience. Turkish says it angles to 177 degrees, which is so close to 180 degrees, or flat, that I just can't believe this measurement. Stay with me for more on this later when I test the recline on not only one, but 2 seats. I have a pillow, but no blanket for this short flight, so hopefully the air conditioning won't be too cold. The footrest area is spacious enough for my needs, but the personal stowage is not really great, with a strange 3-tiered section to the left. The top part can barely fit a drinking glass and is shared with the person next to you. There's also a seat pocket for thin items, perhaps a laptop and a diary. There's a nice adjustable reading lamp next to my head, and a relatively small tray table by business class standard that pops out of the armrest on my right. I have a ceiling light and air fan above my head. My 15.4 inch or 39 centimeter flat screen is a reasonable size and includes a good selection of films, entertainment, and even live TV, and it can be controlled with a fixed remote as well if one does not want to touch the screen that comes out of the side of the seat divider under the seat control panel. I have charging points to my left set into the armrest, which also has a drinks ledge, a mini table of sorts. I have a suspicion that the Wi-Fi on this flight might not be working, but let's find out later. Well, it's time to stow my bags and get into my seat. I've barely sat down when I'm offered a selection of drinks, none of which is champagne, so I choose the homemade lemonade with fresh mint. I notice later that if one asks for the champagne, they do have it, but I've had enough in the business class lounge already, so I stick with just the lemonade. Noise-cancelling headphones are already on your seat on arrival, so I get these out and get set up for a film. Just before takeoff, menus are handed out by the crew, and it's time for some serious studying. Meanwhile, my drink is finished, and I get settled for the taxi and takeoff. I almost forget to make one last call before we have to put our phones on airplane mode. I have the seat next to me free, which is great. Turkish Airlines plays their safety video while we move out of the parking slot and onto the runway. The taxiing at some airports can take over 20 minutes, but within 5 we're already positioned to get those turbines whirring. And we're lifting off into the air and Istanbul bound. At this point, I notice that between my seat and the left armrest, there's some dirt and food remains from a previous flight. Not cool. The view from the air is wonderful, and with all my space, I actually have 2 windows to view out of. Shortly, I'm served a warm towel to wash my face and hands. A very kind crew member takes my meal choices, and I opt for the islim kebab with slow roasted homemade tomato sauce and buttered rice. This is preceded by a selection of Turkish meze, a garden, fresh seasonal salad, and followed by cheeses, cake, and accompanied by a very warm and tasty bread selection. Now it's time to settle into my film and wait for the meal service. 20 minutes into the film, the food arrives, and it's very good. I opt for a white wine, and the stewardess asks me if I prefer Spanish or Turkish. So I choose the Turkish wine, a Cava Clidere Egeo Sauvignon Blanc 2023. I take an orange juice as well, just in case. I always try the food and drink from the airline's country, or at least something new or rare, not that which I'm used to. I'm actually impressed with the food selection and get stuck in. Turkish Airlines has given me pretty little salt and pepper pots in the shape of minarets, together with some olive oil. After these courses, the main course, the islim kebab, arrives, and it's really tasty. Overall, the food has been a luxury experience thus far. After the food service is cleared, I'm handed a new menu card for the snack bar and told to order anything I need at any time. This little menu mentions snacks like dried nuts, mixed fruits, cookies, fruits, and popcorn. I'm given a packet of nuts as well. It must be said at this point that while the seat and amenities around it are not 100% up to scratch for business class, this is a short-haul flight, and so technically one does not need a fully reclining flatbed. Although some people are going to sleep, I'm not one of those today. I'm also not one for reviewing bathrooms, but it is important to see that the appropriate care and cleanliness is adhered to. The bathroom is large enough and a tad larger than those in economy. There are hand wash, hand cream, and air freshener bottles, and even a reed diffuser, a nice touch. The sink and whole area are very clean. Hats off to the crew for this. After my bathroom break, I'm ready to test out the sleeping arrangements. The lights have been dimmed and the ceiling lights are available for reading. So I switch those on and check out the 2 seats in full, both mine and the seat next to me. I recline my seat, but it just doesn't go all the way it should. It's faulty. I don't mention this to the crew yet, as I try out the seat next to me. This goes down further than mine, but certainly I'm not lying down at an angle of 177 degrees, as advertised by Turkish Airlines. I wish I had brought my mathematics protractor or something to measure this. For some people, lying at this angle might be fine for falling asleep. For me, I find I start sliding off the seat. Of course, again, this is technically a short-haul flight and one doesn't always need to sleep, but I'll be sure to avoid angled flat seats for longer flights, or when I think I'll need the rest. There's now a little over 1 hour of flight left, and I haven't had a nap or sleep at all, but it's all good. I wasn't planning on sleeping on this 4-hour trip. I'm served a coffee with biscuits, which is not the best coffee, but good enough to keep me going. I really would have enjoyed some traditional Turkish coffee at this point. One thing I must mention is the service from the crew, which was excellent. They were attentive, kind, observant, and responsive. And just like that, it's all coming to an end. My screen shows that we're landing soon, and the pilots make the announcement of our descent to Istanbul airport. After taking off 48 minutes late, we make up for it in the air and land 8 minutes ahead of schedule, flying for 3 hours and 18 minutes. The landing is smooth, but the taxi long this time. Istanbul airport is large, but one would imagine that the country's own carrier has quicker access to landing slots. My experience in short has clear advice. On a short-haul flight of 4 hours or under, even with a larger angled flat seat and great service, on an older plane, the business class price may not be worth the ticket. My next flight, though, is a long-haul flight from Istanbul to Cape Town in South Africa on a bigger plane, also Turkish Airlines, which I hope will be a better business class experience than this short-haul trip has played out to be. Join me for that flight. I'll let you know that it ended up a lot better than this one did. See you soon.